welcome to Pranary. Welcome to this Fireside Chat. Tell us a little about your background. You got an interesting background. Tell us about that.
Well,
Russian Nigerian.
yeah. So, hello everyone. I'm Ego Iwegbu. Thank you so much for having me here today, Sandras. Really appreciate it. My background is a little bit global in that my mom comes from Russia, my dad comes from Nigeria. I was born in Russia. I lived in Nigeria, spent most of my life in the UK, and I've spent now 12 years in South Africa. I think it's 12 years. So it's 12 years in South Africa. So I'm kind of a little bit all over the place. I don't feel stuck. I feel that the planet is open to all of us. And so I don't have that sort of local, everything has to be here vibe. Yeah, I'm ready to move. I can move and live somewhere else and not feel lost.
You know what I love about our friendship is like I tell people that I got a Nigerian Russian friend and I'm afraid to use her. Nobody can touch me.
I'm not afraid to use her.
Tell us about you. You got also like what you studied. Like it's so cool.
Right.
Like you tell us about your degrees and then how you ended up doing what you're doing.
So my parents are academics. So the way that my dad ended up in Russia to meet my mom was that back in the day, the USSR were giving out scholarships to West Africans to study. So my dad ended up with this scholarship and he went to go and study medicine in Russia. And so you can imagine that he came from a very small village in Nigeria and has become a world-renowned professor in orthopedic surgery through his studies in Russia. And my mom came from communist USSR that had closed doors and came out of there and is, a doctor in climatology, geography. And she, so I come from a very academic family. And as far as they're concerned, the only way to make it in life is through your studies. But I knew in my heart, I was probably about 14 or 15, something like that, that I thought, I don't want to do medicine. I don't want to become a doctor. I couldn't see myself in any sort of corporate job. There was none of that. All I wanted to do was do some kind of business. I needed an exciting life. So being born into an academic family, firstborn as well, I was expected to do medicine. I finally became brave enough in my mid-teens to tell my father that I didn't want to be a doctor, that I was going to study mathematics, because I had a fantastic mathematics teacher in school that opened up mathematics to me and made me realize that it was really easy. It's actually easy.
Other people run away from science and from mathematics to go to biology, right?
Whereas I just thought that English language was a disaster. I can't even now when my children speak to me about what they're studying in English, I think, great, that makes sense. Yeah. So I studied mathematics as a way out of not doing medicine, and I studied mathematics as a way out of not basically being too academic. To me, it was just like, to keep my parents quiet and calm, I'll just quickly go and do a maths degree and then sneak out and try and start my own business.
Wow.
Yeah.
There you are with a maths degree.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then now the journey, like entrepreneurship. What were the beginning stories there? Like you were in London.
Yeah.
Tell us about
that
journey.
Yeah, so one of the things I want to say is that to any aspiring entrepreneurs, anyone who hasn't started, I just want you to know that it is the hardest path. You understand? So if you want an easy life, go and get a job. If I had taken my maths degree and gone to Deloitte or wherever else, I would probably be earning more money today than I am. Not that it's too bad, but the point is that it's definitely the hard path. And I personally feel that even though it was the harder path. And I had options. I could have done all kinds of things. I realized deep in my soul that there was nothing else for me but business. I had to have my own business. Nobody was going to tell me what to do. I didn't want a boss. I couldn't stand any of it. The whole thing was just a disaster. So with that deep power and passion in me for my own business, I overcame so many hurdles. First, my father, who is larger than life character, and my mother, who have done so much and got us so far, for me to turn around and say, bye, thanks guys for university and all of that stuff. I'm going off to go and open my first nail bar. Nails. As in
with your mathematics
painting nails. You want to open a nail bar. I mean, it was like a nightmare. Yeah. So I had to overcome the disappointment and the drama, literally, that was coming from my parents with regards to that. And of course, the inside self-doubt, because in my soul, I'm thinking to myself, who do you think you are? You want to open up nail bars? What do you know about that? What do you know about business? And of course, I didn't want a nail bar. I didn't want a nail shop in some little street on the side of London. I wanted it on Oxford Street, in Selfridges, in Topshop, and I wanted 100 of them. That was the plan, right? So I had to overcome self-doubt. I had to overcome my parents. I had to overcome the fact that nobody took me seriously at all. I was 27. I had never run a business before in my life. I'd never, in fact, in my 3 years of corporate job that I got out of my degree, I didn't even get to a point where I was managing a team. So I'd never managed people. Yeah, exactly. So I learned my managing of people in the job, in the business. So I'd never managed people, I'd never run a business before, I had literally zero experience, no one was taking me seriously, nobody was prepared to give me any money, but all I knew was that it was the best idea on this planet. That's all I had. Yeah. And I thought to myself, I have this idea. I want to get my nails done in central London. I can't. Yeah. All the nail shops are in Peckham and Brixton and so on, and they're all non-English speaking and not fancy. I want fancy. I want to get my nails done in central London. So I know there's a business for this. Yeah. And so with that, I just knew that no matter what, I was going to open this nail bar.
Yeah. And then what you touched on in terms of if you want to make easy money, get a job.
Please.
I think that doesn't get said enough. So I've interviewed now. In the last 6 years, I've interviewed over 100 founders and investors, and that has been kind of like a repeated message that some would say, like, what's the unpopular opinion you have about entrepreneurship that a lot of people don't have? And some would say, don't do it. They would backtrack and laugh, like, but you know what I mean?
No, I'm not backtracking. I mean it. Do not do it. If you want a quiet life, do not start your own business.
Yeah, I've seen that. And I interviewed the founder of Vanderbilt. He started a company, sold it to Visa for over $200 million. And he also said, like, you know what? This, like, are you sure you want to do this? So again, this is something that you have to think about. So for me, I liken entrepreneurship to wearing beautiful shoes, but they're too tight. Yeah. Where everybody's admiring you from afar, like, wow, wow, and then you can't tell them, like, guys, shoes hurt. It's hard, yeah. And exactly. So thinking about that is critical. But then again, people really feel called to entrepreneurship. Right? It's like you just can't be. Like, you're miserable as an employee, you're miserable as a boss, but you want to run your own thing. So choose that.
Yeah. So this is why I have to say that for quite a few years, especially when I was in the trenches of it, I used to think to myself, you mean some people decide to do this when they had a job and they were happy in their job? They just suddenly, because that's when I was sure that you had to be born an entrepreneur, that you couldn't become an entrepreneur. Yeah. But I see now that that's not the case. I see that people leave corporate, they spend years doing stuff, and an opportunity comes up and they take it and they build successful businesses. So I think maybe you don't have to be born an entrepreneur, but maybe my path was the harder path because I went into it with zero experience. And also my parents were not entrepreneurs. So I didn't have any kind of role models or training or any of that type of stuff to fall back on. So maybe I made more mistakes in the first 10 years than needed.
Yeah, so for all of you who want to become entrepreneurs now, it's way easier. Okay? And then also you don't have to be the founder, you can join other people. And then also you can start something while you still have your job.
Yes.
And then you can hire ChatGPT.
Yes, yes.
All right.
Yes.
Now tell us, like, fast forward to South Africa, your business here, and then you go to the good minerals.
So having opened 6, fumbled, lost everything, nearly went bankrupt in the UK and everything, learned a huge amount of lessons around the salons that I had. Then went on to consult because suddenly my phone was ringing and people were asking me to help them open salons or run businesses, etc. So I did that and I wrote a couple of books on salon business, and that was going great and I was really happy about that. In the time I got married, I had kids. My ex-husband was offered a position in South Africa and I thought, oh, okay, let's go. 2 years, we'll spend 2 years in South Africa and I'll write more books. That was the plan. We arrived here, our Tambo airport was sparkling, and because I was expecting Nigeria. I don't know if any of you, I don't know if any of you have ever been to Murtala Mohammed International Airport in Nigeria. Anyway, that's what I was expecting. And when I landed, I thought, wow, what is this place? And then there were traffic lights and they worked. And then the roads were working. And the roads. And I thought, what's going on? This isn't Nigeria. And then there was Woolies, and then it was all over. I was like, oh my God, it's Marks and Spencer. We're not going anywhere. So the sun was shining, the sky was blue, there was Woolworths, and I was just really excited to be here. And sort of within a few weeks of arriving, I started visiting every single salon that I saw because the South African nail business was more advanced than the UK. So, well, back in the day. So I was thinking to myself, oh, I wonder what's going on in this market. So I was going around checking them out, and lo and behold, I came across this one in Morningside, and I got my nails done, and I'm very fussy, and I'm very good at nails, and I know everything about salons, just FYI. And so every time I went in, I was checking it out, everything about the service, about the way that the products were being used, about the processes that they were doing with the nails. And this one salon, the nail technician knew what she was doing. And I thought, oh, this is interesting. So I came back. I went back to get my nails done the second time, which is a massive thing for me. And it was in my second visit that I found out that they were having problems. And so I said, well, you should tell the owner that I'm here. My name, I'm Ego, and I'm Miss Salon Consulting, and I know everything about salons. So I'll turn this salon around in seconds. And of course, the thing about being a salon owner or business owner is that people don't generally want to be given any advice unless they asked for it. She didn't ask for it. So, but it had come to her attention. And so when things were failing, my phone rang and they said, do you want this salon? Do you want to buy this salon? I'd been in South Africa for all of 4 months, never been here before, didn't know anybody. The fellow mom in my school, Linda, in the school that our sons would go to, Linda had mentioned that she wanted to own a salon. And so I turned to her and I said, Linda, there's a salon in a place called Morningside. Is it any good? Should we buy it? Do you want to do it together? Because the kids were small. My son was 10 months old, another one was 3. And I thought, oh, and I'm supposed to be writing books, and we're only here for 2 years anyway, and so on. So the first salon basically ended up just being an experiment.
Yeah.
And wow, what an experiment. It was amazing. And we literally broke all sales records within the first 4 months of opening Miss Salon London. Wow. In Morningside. And the place was heaving, and it was, to me, it was a new type of salon in South Africa. So just the same way that I'd opened these open plan nail bars in the UK, which was a new idea. No one had ever done this sort of just a nail bar in the middle of a department store, in Selfridges, in Topshop and so on. It was really cool. And I'm into making something that's brand new, that's different, and that really addresses a need. Yeah. So in the UK, it was about quick and fast. While I'm getting my dress for the evening, I want to get my nails done, boom, it was there. In South Africa, it was about quality and really personal, high-level service, which I realized was lacking in service here. People, you can go up to a till, and if they're having a conversation, no one's going to acknowledge that you're standing there. You know, and I used to be like, guys, in Selfridges, you've got hundreds of people walking in front of you. You've got a woman wanting to pay for her nails. You've got a woman wanting something over there. You've got the phone ringing and you're processing. You have to make sure that you are meeting, greeting, eye contacting everybody all the time. So this was the thing here. I was like, guys, we are changing the vibe. And that's what Miss Salon London in Morningside was like. The service was of the highest quality. The nail bar was chilled and relaxed, the music playing, Wi-Fi. We were iPadding our magazines. We weren't doing magazines. You know, it was really cool. And the nail technicians were just so amazed at how we could do such a special job. And of course, we were charging seriously expensive nails. And I just remember one person once saying to me, charge what you want to charge. People will pay. People will pay. Do not. I remember sitting with one of the nail techs and saying, listen, we're going to charge this for manicures and everything. He goes, well, if you think people are going to pay. I said, we are going to charge it and they're going to pay. We were heaving all the time. We had a waiting list of people wanting to get into the salon. So do not undercharge ever. If your product is good, if your service is good, charge for it. People will pay.
That's true. Because speaking of people, charging and people paying, I always pay like max for my hair, but like $100, like 100 rand, you know, for my hair, and all the time. But today I paid 380% more.
Wow.
But do you think I'll go back? Yes.
It was a good. Right.
Yes, it was
right.
Oh, I didn't know I could pay so much for black hair.
Right.
Right. And I don't even comb my hair.
Right.
But you know what I mean? But exactly what you're saying, that if the service was good, I didn't feel shortchanged. I felt like, wow, I'll come back here. And that was like a big turning point. So as opposed to 100 to 380, you know. So
I think one of the points I want to make about that, I don't know if anybody here is in service, but I want to say that when a customer came into the salon, the music was blaring, we were doing shots of vodka and drinking champagne, and everything seemed like a lot of fun, right? But I always said to the team, no matter how fun it looks on the surface, the underlining thing is the perfection of the infrastructure. That nail file and that foot file is sterilized and buffed, and the customer can see it. Those drawers that have got all of your stuff in, there was a whole system for how the tables were opened up, cleaned out for the next customer, because we had people waiting. So imagine if you've sat there for an hour and a half and you've had all kinds of stuff done and all that shit's come off your foot and your nail clippings and everything. Can you imagine how that section needs to be cleaned before the next person comes and sits down? And I always said that the customer that comes in at 5 o'clock must get as clean a station as they had at 9 a.m. this morning. Do you understand? So even though it always seemed like a whole load of fun, There was a system that was always super professional. And that to me, and I always said to the techs as well, do not get over familiar with your customers. Do not start talking about your home problems, politics, religion. No. We can talk about contouring, Kardashians, Big Brother, what music we're listening to, where we're going tonight to eat, and so on, right? But you don't get personal. Everything is always professional. And so that, I think, is the point. People are prepared to pay for that.
Yeah.
I get my hair braided. These women are on this hair for hours. Hours. And at the end of it, it's 800 Rand.
Only.
Never. I will never do that in my salon. Never. That's a waste of time. And I always had customers going, oh, why don't you add braiding? And I'm like, are you going to pay 2,500 Rand for your braids? Because unless you are, I will not have space taken up in this shop to do this delicate, intricate work for such little money.
Yeah.
And the problem, of course, is that then that's when you get the dodgy sink, you get the dodgy shampoo, the shampoo's not great, you get the towel that you can't be sure is clean. And you're like sitting like that. I take my worst, when it's braid day, I go to the salon in my worst attire and I make sure I've got a ton of emails to send because that's the only thing that I can do. Nobody offers me a drink. So you see,
Yeah.
Right.
Brilliant.
Okay.
So a lot of advice there for people who have salons, makeup businesses, all of that. Now, quickly on the makeup, making cosmetics.
Right,
Tell
so,
us about that, and then we'll go to prepare your questions. We'll take questions, and then here at Pranary, we allow you to post to tweet, to post to your social media, like all the quotable quotes, all the wonderful things, lessons, pictures. Share on social media. We like that. Okay, so if you're on your phone, we love you. It's the only time we say be on your phone. Great. Now tell us.
so
about
what I want to say,
making
right,
the
before,
clean make,
so the makeup, so the salons are service businesses and I found deep joy in them. Joy. I would come to the salon and I would have the day of my life. Talking to customers, enjoying the time. It was amazing, right? We made a ton of money. In that one salon in Morningside, if you ever get to see it, it's the size of this section down here. It's literally tiny, right? It's 34 square meters or something like that. In that 34 square meters, we were turning over more than any McDonald's drive-through. That's how much money we were making in that salon. And the team was making money. Everybody was on basic, really high basic and commission. Everybody was happy. I was doing shots of vodka, so everybody was very happy.
The Russian side of it.
Right. And Linda and I were making a lot of money. So I want to say something about that. If you want a lifestyle business, you can stop there.
Yeah.
You can stop there. I was making, I'm saying, more than your average salary every single month. And in fact, at the end of the year, we would end up, because November, December were huge turnover months for us. We walked away with a hell of a lot of money each, right? You can stop there. You can stop there and you can live in peace and you can live in joy and you can just go to your salon and enjoy yourself.
Yes.
I enjoyed myself. But of course, the problem with me is that I am overly ambitious and I want more. I always want more. So at this point, we opened the second one and then we opened the third one. And then again, like in the UK where I had 6, the trouble starts when you don't have enough infrastructure set up to manage so many stores, especially full of staff, full of teams. Someone doesn't show up to work, someone can't be bothered, someone winds a customer up, the service level is dropping and so on. So by the time we got to number 3, I realized this isn't going to scale the way that I want. I'm not going to do this again. I tried in the UK with 6, all under one PTY limited company. Bad idea. Do not put all your different things under one PTY because and then that PTY owns the bank account, and then if something goes wrong, it's all happening in the one bank account. No. So the second time around, Morningside Salon is one company, Parker's Salon is another company, Menlyn Main Salon is another company, all trading under the same brand name, but they're all separate entities, right? So this was my attempt to scale service. Now, scaling service that people go, but where's Ego? I want Ego. Ego's not in the salon. I'm not coming. And I'm thinking, no, I'm not going to be there. It was difficult to scale a business that had been built on a vibe, and had been built.
And there was a magazine, you were on a Destiny magazine.
Yes, exactly. So we were all, it was the vibe, and the vibe required me and Linda and Azania to be in, right? Like, where are they? Why are they not here? If they're not here, I'm not getting my nails done and all that stuff, right? And also the team start to dwindle. Remember what it's like to be that member of staff who's doing the nails and thinking, the customer goes, but where are they? And you're like, well, I'm here. No, we don't want you, we want them. So this was a problem. And so at this point, my sister, who lives in Washington, D.C. in the States, Natasha, is a product developer and a scientist, and she's an inventor. She's been making things for years. She had started mixing this makeup back in 2005. So, you see, and this is actually a really interesting point about entrepreneur versus inventor. You know, so she is very creative. She makes amazing products all the time. But to take a product and turn it into serve fruit takes a lot, right? Because it's a hell of a lot of marketing. It's a hell of a lot of infrastructure around manufacture and logistics and everything. So Natasha had created this product, and it was sitting in her lab doing nothing. But it had been out. We were wearing it, she was wearing it, and she had put it on a few friends of ours. So we knew it was a great product. My mom says, Ego, your salons are so packed in South Africa, go and get that makeup from Natasha. And so that's how it started. And I have to say, on the back of the story of scaling, I realized, let's go to product, because it's all well and good with the services. And yes, we were selling a lot of stuff in the salons, but none of it was, own brand, and none of it was sold outside of the salons. It was always stuck within this space, which was great, as I said, if you don't mind that. But if you want to scale, and when I say scale, I'm talking about $200 million. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about taking a product from zero to, let's get it to $10 million turnover a year, let's get it to $100 million, and then take it from there, right? So we get the product in. I've never done product before at this point. I've had loads of experience in business, but I've never actually done product. So we start this product, and so you find out all kinds of other issues, like who's gonna make it? How fast can they make it? What jar is it going into? Customers come in to the salon and you go, right, I'm putting this makeup on your face, MJ. Everything you've got on is coming off. Boom, 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 boom. Oh my God, I love it. Buying it, sold out. We can't make it fast enough. We can't make it fast enough. So then you start to fall over yourself, trying to make it faster. I remember being at an event months later, and a woman coming up to me that I had never seen before, and she goes, you guys, you got me off of my Mac, and now you don't have caramel 3. What am I supposed to do without my caramel 3? I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. No, not who am I? Who are you? I'm thinking, look at the mess we're making. I know people say, isn't that a great problem to have when people want your product? But to be honest with you, for me, everything is about the customer. I want the customer to be absolutely bowled over by the stuff that we're doing. And here she is telling me in the middle of an event that she hasn't got any more caramel 3. Where is it? So, it's like calling my sister, Sasha, mix faster, mix 3 kilos. But she's like, what are you talking about? I said, can you imagine? It's selling. So she goes and buys 3 blenders. So she's got the 3 blenders going at the same time. I mean, it was just a madness for a long time.
Yeah. Wow.
And then the real madness happened when Woolworths sent us an email saying, what is this waves? We hear you're causing waves in Gauteng with your makeup. What is this makeup? And I was like, do you want it? So they gave us a pop-up. They gave us a pop-up for 3 months in Woolworths in Mall of Africa. And that's literally when the madness began, because we went into that pop-up, we sold out in 3 days. We went, they ordered more, we sold out. Within the week, it was gone the second time. By the end of the second week, they sent someone from Cape Town with filming, trying to understand what is this Miss London Minerals and how come they're selling more than Smashbox and everybody else in the store. So that's how it started. And then we just literally could not make enough product. And yeah.
Okay. And so I know your stories, that there are a lot of things that you've done. We could be here another 2 hours, but I'd like you to accelerate.
Yes,
in terms
let's
of,
accelerate.
Tell us about the fundraising very quickly, and then launching the Good Mineral, and then what makes your makeup different?
Well, the makeup.
Like what's so special about it? Like, why people like, hey, why can't I buy my Caramel 3?
Right, right.
Oh, and my Cocoa 4.
Right. So the saying, that's right. You are a Cocoa 4.
Yes,
Well done, Sandras. So the thing about product and service is that you always want to do something that's special. Because especially if you're going to try to raise funds, if you're going to try to scale, if you're going to try to grow exponentially, you really need to have a product that stands out from the rest, but also stands out from the rest to a large enough market, right? So you've got to make sure that whatever you're doing has a large enough market. And then you can start to pitch to get funding, because at that point it starts to make sense. Oh, okay, so I'm telling you that this non-alcoholic, non-alcohol-free gin and tonic, there are hundreds of thousands of people who want to drink this drink. And why? Because it tastes like gin and tonic, but they're not going to wake up with a hangover tomorrow, and they're not going to be breaking any of their religious rules or whatever it is, right? So then you can point out people who are religious that don't want, people who, how many parties, you can start to figure out what the market is, and then it starts to make sense. So the thing about the Good Mineral, which is the name of exactly the same makeup that we're retailing in the USA, and Miss London Cosmetics, which is what it's called here in South Africa, is that it is, not only is it non-toxic, preservative-free, clean, truly clean beauty, but it is designed for sensitive, acne-prone skin. I have acne, and acne, as far as I'm concerned, is one of the biggest reasons why you want coverage, right? So we want to cover our face, we want to look our best, but when you put conventional makeup on, tomorrow my face will explode, I'm going to have itchy skin, and so on. And I know I'm not the only one with this problem. And not only do I know that for acne prone, but I also know from the customers in the salon that they come in and I'm looking at all of you ladies here, and I can see like maybe 3 of you are wearing makeup, right? Because that is the truth. The truth is what's on Instagram is not what happens. All of this, nobody's doing that on a day-to-day basis. In real life, people just want to look natural and fresh and clean. And that's exactly what our makeup offers, this natural, fresh, clean way of glamorizing yourself and looking your best. So that's what stands out. So in South Africa, we realized that talking about acne-prone, sensitive skin wasn't the market. The market in South Africa is about, I don't know how to use makeup. I've never used makeup. I don't want to look like I'm wearing a mask. That's South Africa.
Like you fell on.
I don't want to look like all of this. Yeah, I don't want to look like all of this. So I don't want to look like I'm wearing a mask. Who looks fun? I don't have time. Blah blah blah. Right?
People that look like they fell onto an anthill. When they put their hand there, like, hey, be careful, somebody has got their hand on your face.
Exactly.
The difference.
Exactly. So there's that, and that's the market that we're pitching to, and it's called Miss London Cosmetics. But in the US, the market is much bigger. The Miss Salon London doesn't exist there. I didn't want to start trying to educate the market in the US about Miss Salon London. So I renamed it to the Good Mineral. So it was quicker to pick up. And our strap line in the US is award-winning clean makeup for sensitive acne-prone skin. So it's a very clear market. When we finally get into stores there, we will be under a certain category of acne solutions or dermatologist recommended and stuff like that. These categories are not in South Africa as yet. And so it's very important to be clear about the market that you're going for and making sure that your product is, in line with the people that you're pitching it to. And that's how you end up raising funds. And that's how you end up raising money. And that's how you end up making sales. At the moment, we've launched we're just over a year old in the US. We're only D2C. We are online only in the US. D2C, direct to consumer. So we're not in any store, unfortunately, yet, but that's only yet. So we're D2C, and so we're selling online, and so it's a whole other kettle of fish when you're trying to get people to land on your website and part with cash. You understand? They've never met you. They don't know anything about you. The only thing that they can see is your Instagram, your community building text, or your website. And you have to build trust just like that, visually online.
Brilliant.
And then they part with their money.
Yeah. Cool, we're going to take questions. Who's ready? Question number 1. No questions, yay! Yes.
From the way you speak, from when your company was still small, when you started the sort of business, you had a lot of passion about it, and you looked at a lot of stores that were already out there. Now, you must have had an insurgent amount of ideas that were happening at the time. How did you funnel that down to concise ideas? Because it doesn't sound like 10 ideas would have been working. It's like one good idea, then builds into a whole other thing. How do you funnel down your ideas?
So my ideas are about what I want, to be honest with you. I wanted to get my nails done in central London. Simple as that. I didn't want to be stuck inside. Nails in particular is that you're sitting like that. You're stuck. You're stuck. You can't read anything. You can't do anything. You're stuck. So to me, the whole process was so boring. I wanted an open plan in the middle of my favorite store, which was Selfridges. I wanted to listen to music and watch people go by. So I was clear as daylight that the idea is an open plan nail bar. In South Africa, I had already established myself as a nail bar and salon entrepreneur. So I was looking at stuff, and the one in Morningside is amazing because people are walking by, there's signature down there, they're walking in, you can sit there, you look out there, we've got the TV in front, we've got all the stuff for retail in front. So it's the same idea, no boring times whilst you're doing your grooming. And then in terms of the makeup was also, as I said, I'm the one that suffers from acne. And so I knew that every time I wanted to look my best, I was compromising my skin with the other makeup. So I was clear that that's the makeup that I'm selling. Do you have loads of ideas and you can't?
So I have a lot of good ideas, but I assume to be good ideas. And I understand that the funding I have and time I have to implement some of these ideas is not as
Enough.
Yeah. So there are certain things that have to take priority. So I look at my product and be like, all right, the customer will want this. Then I'm also a perfectionist, so it'd be like, okay, look at what these guys have done. What we're doing is not up to scratch, so we need to go back to the drawing board.
Right.
It's really not, from what everyone says, because we talk to certain business people and like, oh no, you can put your product as it is right now to the market. But like, yeah, but I don't feel confident that what I'm producing needs to go there. But what you're saying is like, there's a whole lot of passion that you went in, you're confident in the idea, but I don't know how much trial and error there was in it.
Loads. falling flat on your face all the time. All the time. But it doesn't matter. You just do it anyway. You just have to do it. Pick your favorite one. Pick the one that gives you the best joy, the most joy, do that one. Or pick the one that has the most profit in it. Just do the calculation. Where's the biggest margin? Do that one.
Your question is similar to the question he was asking me. It's a newest young entrepreneur. One in his son was like, I've got this idea. How do I make it? Like, how do you focus on the thing, and how do you like mitigate risk, right? So, in addition to what Ego said, you could think about like the problem you want to solve, but also what you love and talk about most. So, which is different from every problem you find, then that's a business. Like for me, I want to buy every hotel because like, we can fix this. But it's not like every problem is a business. Then that's one. Then number two, test very quickly with people, and then not to obsess over the product in itself, but what it solves. So in this case, like it's clean. It's like wow, people want that as opposed to your packaging and all of that. So that's really just something.
I want to say that one of the things that we do with, because it's foundation and people don't know how to choose their shade, one of the things that we offer a service of send your images in and we will color match you and tell you what foundation to use. And I have to say that the clearer the message becomes about acne prone or sensitive skin, the more you start to see the images that come through. People trust, and they will send faces of them raw with their acne and their worst, face to us, just like that, with so much trust. The more images we get like that, the more I realize that we're going down the right path.
Cool. Pranary. Keep the answer short.
I don't know whether mine is more of a question or maybe just unpacking a couple of things. So the people on my right, I forced them to come yesterday.
Will you speak a little louder so everybody
So
can
the
hear
people
you?
on my right, I forced them to come here today.
Yeah.
And because of what Sandras had mentioned, my son wants to start business. The lady here was very much into makeup. So what sold you was that picture.
Yeah. Okay.
So that picture, when they saw that picture, they wanted to come. So what, they looked at each other on one of the comments, or when you are unpacking your story, when you say, the biggest thing that I had to overcome was my parents.
Mm.
And so they're looking at from my eyes. And so, with what you know now, right, and what they instilled in you, directly or indirectly, to what degree did that help you?
Right.
Or
So.
did not help you at all?
Right. So really good question, and I'll tell you why this is a particularly good question, because your childhood forms you as the adult you're going to be. And the fears around money, how money is spent, how money is used in the family and everything, it's in you, right? So as much as you are fighting to overcome all sorts of things, you're also fighting to overcome your what's the word? Your slideshow, your conditioning around money, around hard work, around giving up or not giving up, doing stuff, So to what extent did my parents' background help me? Of course, they are the most hardworking pair of people that I would ever know. My dad came from where he came, my mum came from where she came. They made things happen. I am forever grateful to them for that. The fact that they've got, not necessarily an abundance mentality around, what's available on the planet, probably something that I'm having to fight to overcome. But the older I get, the more experienced I become, the more I read and open myself up to other entrepreneurs, the more I start to realize that there's lots that I can let go of. And just let go and be yourselves, guys. Go for your dreams.
Brilliant. Question there.
Hi, Ego.
Hi.
So I'm interested to hear a bit more about business partnerships and people you get into business with. And I'm curious to hear from you, what sort of traits or attributes do you look for, or did you look for, when you were selecting a business partner? And what practices or tools or whatever it is that you have put in place
Okay, so I didn't have anything that I was looking for initially. The story goes when it came to Linda and Azania that it was literally the way that the universe worked. They appeared and, you know, I'm not an easy person. My character isn't easy and I push people a lot. And so, but they kept pushing back. So I realized that these are people that I could work with. We do have written contracts in place with very, very, very clearly outlining everybody's role. So, you know, if somebody doesn't do what they're meant to be doing, it's clear as daylight that they're not doing what they're meant to be doing. But that doesn't matter. What matters more to me, the way that I have done things and still do things, even with our new investors, is that I make sure that I have enough of a percentage in the business to mean that if I have to do everything, I will not be pained. So, because the only person I really trust is me. I trust me, I believe in myself, I know what my work ethic is, right? So if everybody else fucks up,
Say it loud.
I still own enough of the company to not care whether they show up or not. And that to me is critical. If you know that you're the one, that no matter what, you're the one that's going to keep your business going, you make sure that you have enough of it to make sure that you don't care. Screw them.
Question here.
You mentioned that the business didn't go well. You almost went bankrupt, but still you went into book writing, and you had an interest into consulting, advising other businesses. So, what was your book about, and was it based on the failures of the business?
So first of all, when I say the business failed, it was because it was one entity. I had 6 salons under one entity. 2 of them were outstanding. 4 of them were disaster. So it brings the whole thing down. So do I know how to make a successful business? Yes, here's one. Do I know what went wrong to bring a business down? Yes, here's two. So if you come and ask me, should I do this? I will have such a balanced and an overall point of view. So yeah, the books were about salon business. Open Your Own Salon the Right Way was one book, and then the second one was Kickstart Your Salon into Profit. So those were the 2 books, and they were about salon business.
Where are the books?
They're on Amazon.
Cool. Loiso and then
Hi. Yeah.
Just have a simple question on my side. If you were to go back, I heard your journey left the corporate education.
Could you speak a little louder?
Oh, if you're well learned,
Let's receive this one. Hello, hello? 1, 2, 3. Hello?
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Thank you.
no, I just thank you so much for the inspiring story that a lot of especially on my side, I just wanted to ask you if you were to go back as the ego that just left everything, you know, when the family went right, you went left. Would there be any regret, or would there be anything you'd improve on particularly? You can have to say there's a lot of things usually, but what comes out in your head in your journey that you would improve on going back?
If I could start all over again, facing that moment where I was defying my family's wishes, is that what you're saying? What would I change?
Not just on family, just on your journey.
My journey, definitely what I would change is I would work in a salon. I would have worked in a salon for a year at least, because honestly, I didn't know what I was doing. I learned everything on the job, because I just had this vision. It was going to be this open plan nail, just build the nail bar, open the nail technicians, you just bring the nail technicians, they sit down, They know what they're doing. They know what they're doing, so they'll just do it. And so that was it. And so, of course, the nail bar was built without the drawers. We had everything on the table. Everything was covered in dust. So then the council came and said, where are the ventilators? Shit, we need to build tables with ventilators. I didn't know. It was just a hot mess for about the first 2 years. So I would change, so the advice is that whatever industry you decide that you want to go into, please go and work in it for a year. That would be great.
I know medical doctors, and then they go, they see blood and pass out.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yes.
Hi, lovely to hear about your story. Super inspirational. So my name is Lesedi, and I've been in business for 4 years now. I'm in the service industry. I run a digital marketing agency and event staffing agency. Earlier on, you were speaking about scaling and some of the limitations when it comes to scaling, especially in the service industry. So I've been considering the idea of starting a product business, but my question, I think service is easier. For me, my understanding is if I'm in consulting, for example, I put out my brand out there, you get a client, you're just putting in time, and then it's easier to get paid. Whereas with a product, you probably have to put some money up front, like whether it's, for example, with candles, buying the actual wax, buying the jars,
Right.
packaging, and all of that. When you started Miss London, did you have to put any money in? Number one. How much did you have to put in? How long did it take you before you got your money back and before you started to essentially see a profit from your investment?
So yeah, definitely you have to put money in you're right. So when it comes to product, there's an upfront spend, and then there's the fingers crossed that it's going to sell, right? So of course you start lean and small when you start. So when we started, we didn't go to the manufacturers of the containers. We went to the second people who sell from the manufacturer. So you can buy 100. You didn't have to buy 10,000, right? So you only buy 100, and then you only buy, you create the labels yourself and so on, and then you jar it and stick it all on yourself. And it was only after we got to a point that we'd sold out, and then we started to seek out actual manufacturers who have MOQs, minimum order quantities, and then you start to get better pricing because everything goes down, but you've got a ton of stuff then. And so you've got to have the retailers or the distributors for that. So, sorry, what was your question?
How long was that transition?
How it goes on and on and on. It goes on and on because, we've made, maybe 3 years. Let's say 3 years, but bearing in mind that every year you're expanding, you're going into another store, you're making more, and you're making more. So all the money that you make goes right back into making more and more and more product. So there's a thing about profitability versus growth, versus the fact that you're just growing the brand and you're taking it to a point where you've got a certain turnover, and at that point you become attractive to larger companies who then buy you out. Do you see?
So in the process of those 3 years, was there no let me take out 5%, 10%?
No. Oh, you mean your own salary?
Yes.
You can pay yourself, but remember when you write your business plans, you write and you include costs. You include the cost of you, bearing in mind that the cost of you can go down to 0 if need be, right? So when you're writing your business plans, especially if you're raising funds, you raise the funds including your salary, including a reasonable salary. You're not rolling in the dough just because you've started a company, right?
Yeah.
Just enough.
Great. Okay, we'll get the last question because of time. Okay.
So you mentioned that entrepreneurship is the hard part, and I've just observed from the world that the world is driven to take the easy part. So besides wanting to be your own boss, what motivated you to start and persevere even though things were tough?
Short answer to this is I remember when I was 9 years old, we lived in a little place in the north of London, and maybe a few streets down, to an adult, a few streets down was a sweet shop, was the little local shop. And all the kids around me were younger than me. They were all smaller, and I was 9, well, I was probably 8. And one day we were standing around and saying, should we go to the sweet shop? Yeah, let's go to the sweet shop. My heart, I was so scared. I can still remember that feeling, going, I'm going to take you guys to the sweet shop. We're not supposed to go. We can't cross the road. It might just be down the road from an adult's point of view, but we have to go because I've said to them that we're going. I told them, and they're all like, yay, let's go. And I just remember that with all the fear in my gut, we walked to that sweet shop and came back. And I'll never forget that feeling. And that is the feeling that I had when I was starting, when I was pitching to Selfridges, pitching to Woolworths, when I'm opening up all of these things. I remember having all of this fear. Oh, I'm going to turn to my dad and tell him I'm not going to do medicine, I'm going to do mathematics, and all of that. And I remember I would do it anyway. And that to me was the thing that to me, when I know I feel that way, but I make a promise to myself that this is what I'm doing, I'm going to do it anyway. So that's what it took.
Okay, second last and then last one. Yeah.
Hi.
First of all, I'm one of the people that can vouch for your foundations. Top 2 and not number 2.
Oh, wow.
But I think my question is around the servicing business. You have your ideas that you've thought about it, it's there, it's in your mind how it's going to go, but you obviously are human intensive. How did you go about, or what was your approach in transferring your vision to your employees and the people that you were working with, so that as much as you still had that idea and you wanted to maintain it, that you allowed it to be a collaborative effort? I think, that's part of my question. What was the approach with the people that you were working with?
Yes, so the thing about service industry is that you've got lots of different levels of education in the team, and living environments that the life that they're living. And so you want to be able to relate to everybody in your team and make sure that they feel excited and valued for the job that they're doing. So one of the roles in the salon, for example, is backroom operator. So as I said, I've got a salon this big and I've got 3 backroom operators. These people don't generate money, right? You think to yourself, why would you have 3 people in the back room? And one is cleaning, one is washing and buffing those glasses, one is going and running and getting coffee, etc. For the other one is bringing out the files and all of this stuff. And those guys, I say to them when we're having our team meetings, I'll say to them, you guys, do you think you're just cleaners? You're not. You are the backbone of this salon. Without you, the service that we are offering, this amazing feeling that customers come in and know that this station is perfect when they sit down, is because of you. And I make sure that they feel as excited to be doing the job that they're doing as the nail technicians. And nobody's allowed to put anybody down in the salon, because without each other, sometimes they'll be like, oh, this nail technician is so lazy, she doesn't get up and everything. I said, have you sat down on that chair? Have you sat down and filed 10 sets of nails in one day without moving? Until you do that, you can never know how it feels to be there. And you make sure that you treat her with all the respect and help her out, and the same vice versa. So I think it's really important to bring people in to the feeling and to have empathy. I mean, we've had fights in the shop. They've been busted up, and I will not let anybody rest. We are figuring this thing out. What is it that she said to you? What did she say? Why did you say that? You know what I mean? Let's sort this thing out, because tomorrow we are servicing customers with smiles on our faces, and that's the end of it.
Yeah. Great. Thanks. Last one. Then.
Hi,
Hi.
everyone.
know.
You mean I haven't put you off?
But your story, I find it very fascinating because it's one of the topics we've been, with some friends we've been talking about recently, especially in South Africa with a couple of brands that were doing so well. And the minute they scale, then they fall apart. I mean, there's so many stories on that. And just to give you background, the kind of question you're gonna get from me. I run a company. We offer entrepreneurs accounting literacy, trying to demystify accounting and all that. So my question is, when you were growing your business, didn't you have KPIs in place that acted as a warning that, you mentioned that this one was these two were doing well, that the other two were not doing well. So wasn't there KPIs that you could have used, as a warning, and then so that would help you to take corrective action?
So you're talking about my first businesses, the very first that I, didn't have any experience. The biggest problem, of course, there are KPIs. I didn't have KPIs. I didn't say, oh, right, as soon as we're done. No, because I knew literally what was needed. Because right? But that's the wrong way to do it. If you want to scale, you can't be the one that knows everything and you're the one that looks at all the paperwork. No. So, but the biggest problem I had with that business was that there was only me and my right-hand woman manager. So 2 salons are in Manchester, 1 is in Birmingham, 3 are in London, halfway across London. Have you tried to get from one end of London to the other? No, it's like a joke. So even if you're going to go and fix it, it takes everything out of you just to go and fix it. So it was just, what should have happened is that the salons that were miles away should have been owned and run by individuals, not owned by me. They should have been franchises. Then you don't have to be there. Then each franchise is its own entity and it needs to manage itself.
Yeah, sounds like the same story as a restaurant. The minute the chef is not
Right.
the other one far away, that one is not.
Right. But isn't Tasha's such a great example? Tasha's to me is one of those, I go to different Tasha's all the time and I go, wow, look at this place.
Yeah.
The service and the quality of the food is exactly the same no matter which one you go to. So I think they really nailed that. Thanks to famous, thanks to extra money. Thanks to money, yes.
All right. Big hand for Ego. Great. Thank you very much, Ego. This has been so inspiring, so educational. We've learned a lot from you. Again, just practical, which is what Pranary is about. So thank you very much. A big hand once again.
Thank you.
For me, my last words of encouragement is that those of you who want to be entrepreneurs, one of my mentors said that I heard the word I'm a perfectionist. So one of my mentors was saying that, are you a perfectionist or are you afraid? He says that if you're a perfectionist, you would put your product out and get feedback so you can perfect it, right? But if you're afraid of feedback, that's not perfectionism. So that's the question, that's something to ask yourself, what do I really want to do? So if you're doing it for accolades, for people to say, well done, you'll always be worried.
Yeah.
So don't focus on what people say, focus on what you want to put out. But for that, really look deep inside. This is what I really want. And it bothers you all the time. That's what you talk about, that's what you'll be doing. Do it. And your idea could be, somebody could be doing it, but the way you do it will be different. You are all different. Can you think about 7 billion people on Earth and we all have different fingerprints? Think about it. So different. So whatever you do, even if it's a message, somebody just needs to hear it from you. Somebody else had been saying it, but you said it, it lands different. Right? So do it. And then South Africa, you've got amazing opportunities. I don't see a lot of countries that have a lot of funding for entrepreneurs. And it's something what they say that you cannot ask fish about water. Because fish is sitting in water and can't see the water. South Africans, you're sitting in water. There is money. But the difference is, politicians have told you that you get money for ideas. No, nobody gives you money for ideas. Not even in Silicon Valley. They don't give you money for ideas. They give you money for execution. What have you done? Okay? Don't be that cousin that always wants money to start a business. They've always been asking for money for the last 10 years. Start and people will give you money. Just start. Okay? And then the other thing in South Africa that you've got, people try to think too big. Like, I get proposals all the time. Sandras, I've got an idea. This project I want to do in KZN is 90 billion.
Yeah.
What have you done? Nothing. Start small.
Yeah.
Okay, start small.
Yeah.
Do
Start
90
small.
rand. Do 900 rand. 9,000. 90,000. Do it. Then people respect you for what you've done. Then they'll give you money to do more. Okay. So take action, do it, and stay in the game. There's lots of great opportunities here. And what will differentiate you now? Everybody can write a business plan. We all got ChatGPT. What differentiates you is who can do. Be the doer. Stay in the game.
Yes. Yes.